Hello guys, welcome to the first in a series of videos shot at the recent winter camp held here at Aikido Silverdale in North Auckland, New Zealand. The first session was a kind of a workshop warm-up low impact session where we were exploring the concept of Henka Waza or changing technique. And we started off with one of the fundamentals of Aikido, Shihonage, and kind of Frankenstein monstered it into whatever came out of the various attacks that came from the different ukes on the day. We had a big variety of students on the mat, so this turned into a really good fun session. I hope you enjoy this. If you found it useful, smash the like button and enjoy. So from here, I'm obviously setting up something like Shihonage. Fairly straightforward. Nice disciplined attack. Pretty much you can just react as per your training. But what if, for some reason I decide once I actually feel him, that he's too stiff, or I can feel he's pulling back, or someone walks into the space where we are, or a car drives past, whatever it is. Sometimes things have to change. So here is about the first position where I would think about changing the technique, because there's an element of the kazushi being taken, the balance is actually broken. So rather than Shihonage here, his weight's down onto his toes quite nicely. Yeah. I'm not making this dramatic, I'm just going with what he's presenting me. Hey, hip, hip. Now Mark's much more solid, and coming from a different martial art, he's got a different stance and his weight is dropped down into his base slightly differently. My reaction from here probably would be this. So again, one more. There you go. Underneath to the floating rib, or whichever you can reach. I'm quite far up, so might almost be better to here. But once this is collapsed, his weight's into his toes, collar, side of the head, even the shoulder, and just take him down. So nothing fancy, I'm just going with the mechanics of what we're being given. There it is. Another uke, another person, another body type. Same attack, please. Hey! Oh. I've got his shoulder and his elbow locked out. The danger with this one, I've found over the years, is that if you don't drop them back into their heels, that other hand still is available. So if he can reach across, he can. So I've got to make sure that I'm doing to arch his back. But be careful with this. Try not to make it a hyperextension. You're still using this shape, the beginning of the Shihonage shape, if you like. So the weight's going through into the feet. And the nice thing about this is you can step through for your strike, and this is covered to a certain extent where you're going through, and then this is just you constricting. So I'm not using strength, I'm just dropping my shoulders, my shoulder blades are going down, my elbows are coming in, and I'm sinking my back back hip. So I'm not using strength, I'm just like a constriction movement. Into there, there's my balance point. Strike, rotate. So let's try and vary things a bit. Someone a bit taller. Griffin, please. Same attack. Now I've got a bit of height. I'm average hobbit size. So from here, apart from the fact I've got all of this, an obvious thing from here would be straight through. If we're going to pick out another technique. And again, this is if you like, this is a fairly nice version. If I wanted to be a bit more unpleasant, but still the same kind of theory, and I'm going underneath. Hey, hip, under, through. For the sake of looking after each other, we're the first day of camp. Try not to hyperextend. Use the tricep area. Drop your hips underneath and move your whole body through. But the heart of this is still this. it's still this movement for Shihonage. I'm moving quite far back so the camera can see and you can all see the shape. Obviously, I'm moving myself out of range. I can still, I can still strike, but really, once I've closed this down, I want to be in here. Whatever, So he's a bit taller. Let's go back to that. Bang, through, under here, keeping low. Another variation. It goes on and on and on. Whatever you're given by your partner, depending on the situation, how he feels. See, he's pulling back slightly now. Go with what's happening. Hey. This hiji nage, or whatever we would call this, it's very easy to get in the feeling of this arm being largely inert and then it being kind of a push or it's more like if you're using a jo and there's this kind of spiral thing. This is still very much active. This is still spiraling and keeping this core shape on, and it's destabilizing his hips and making him make the step, if you like. It's not just his arms up and I'm barreling through and hurting his elbow. It's a mechanical connection here, and then that leads and that follows. There's a wave being sent down it. Does that make sense? Okay. Here. Through into this shape. Now I'm going to make a... Looks nothingy. Other side. And again. All it is a balance take. Just an otoshi, a body drop. You can go any direction with this. I'm going to let you use a bit of sensitivity. Try and feel he's adjusted his step. So he's strong under that big toe now. I'm going to turn, take him outside of his foot. Right? Oh, okay. All right. So he's into his toes. I can either drop him straight down, or for the sake of the camera, I'm going to turn and drop him to the outside of his feet. And all I'm doing is just dropping down into my own posture. I'm not pushing with my arms. We were talking just now about the shape of your pelvis when you do this. If I turn my pelvis forwards, I'm going to be using, just moving to here, I'm going to be using strength. And again, this over the top pushing down is no good for someone that's short. So my pelvis is coming up underneath, and I'm spiraling one hip, two hips to give myself the shape. And again, even if your partner is heavier than you, as long as I'm not going into where his base is reinforced, so the inside of his foot, the front balance point, or to the outside of the foot where I can get his insteps to start lifting, all give me opportunity. There's our core shape. We've been looking at how to mutate something that we all train regularly into something that is adaptable to a particular environment or a particular situation. So it's kind of a Frankenstein of Shihonage in this case. So we've done some kind of fairly random things. Let's do some more traditional, see what else happens. Hey! So there's our basic shape. Of course, from here, kote gaeshi is available. Wouldn't be top of my list, I think, just because of I've already got this grip on. There's so many things I can do from this thumbs on top grip to take off and release. No matter how well I've got that, there's going to be an element that's going to trigger him to start to react. But it is there. If you had enough flow, there's enough movement, you can kind of keep contact. In certain situations, this might be all right. Also from here, we're looking at more traditional techniques. Hey. Irimi-ish, esque. Hey. I almost don't have to make the entrance. If I do this Shihonage beginning, if you like, I've turned his back towards me. So it kind of eliminates the irimi, the enter through the body aspect that we would practice from a basic, because it's being set up. It's being set up largely here. So as long as I move into the correct position, so my hip is still behind the shoulder, I can control this front part of his body, link in here, and it's just my hips that can do the majority of the movement. Obviously, you can make the more traditional finish if you want. One more. Other side. Hey. Hip. Yeah. Yep. Just trying to get you to think a little bit creatively. From my point of view, I was always taught that the critical point of every technique is to take the balance. It doesn't matter if it's a wrist lock that could potentially break something. It doesn't matter if it's a nerve strike or a throw. Taking the balance is everything. Yeah. This is the critical bit. That gives me my balance. Obviously, I can kip in here, but let's just say for whatever reason, I want to go front leg in here. So my calf is to the calf. I link in here. If you're shorter, you could take the lat, like a pocket guard, but here, and then straighten up and turn your hip. Now, it's not really a trip. I could already see the comments. It's not Aikido. It doesn't matter. It's what happened at the time. There. Obviously, you've got a kick if you wanted here, but here, plant it, twist. That gives me a shape. Effectively, all you're doing, just in posture for me, all I'm doing is effectively rooting his base to the floor. Whenever you take someone's balance, there's always a tendency for people to make little micro adjustments with their feet. And you're just trying to stop, you're just trying to minimize that. There's the shape. In here. And then literally it's just me changing my posture. Have a go. Thank you.